it's happening. We're live, and we're going to share the link on our socials. I'll just post it.
Sure. Let me do that. Sure. Yep. Just do this.
We might need to post it on the.
This is the first time ever.
Oh, really?
I've never seen them.
Where are you going?
I've got the CD.
Yeah.
Bought all of them.
Are you seeing them here?
No. I'm going, it's rather spontaneously. It's all the way in Wareham,
Oh,
which is
I
like,
don't know where that is.
Not now, Facebook.
It's not a long travelling
I know,
journey.
right? It's near Bournemouth. But it seemed like the only, just spontaneously, the other day I thought, oh, is there anything else happening?
In the other part of the country.
Yeah.
I'll let you sit down for a minute.
Not in Doncaster.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
No, I mean like the distance. You've
Yeah.
traversed pretty much the
I
entire country.
think it's that only concert in the UK.
I think it's a really good idea to do that.
Oh, wow.
I think. But anyway, I thought, I didn't spend too much time, I just thought, do it.
That's awesome.
So,
Amazing.
and then I'm going to drive back now.
Right.
Doncaster. Almost Doncaster.
Here we go. It may be just us, but like, that's also fun. There we are. I think that's us, actually. Cool.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you want to trade Absolutely.
So, you guys, Matt, you need to probably like tuck it.
Oh, I like.
There we are. Yeah, so, you want to say anything? I need to get like hospitalized here. That's my contribution. Oh, we have someone watching. Say hello to us if you're watching. This is our first experience. Talk to us in the chat. 4 people. Wow. 4 people.
Oh, yes, 4 people.
Oh, it's exciting.
10:30 on
And we've
a
not even
Saturday
finished
morning.
making
That's
tea.
promising.
Okay, so I suppose formally I should say hello. Hello if you are tuned in for an early brunch with the Swan Consort.
Woo!
So
We have a delicious array of pastries and breads.
We do. It is our birthday month. 3 years ago today, I messaged a bunch of people, some of whom I knew, some of whom I really did not know. I was like, "Hi, want to sing?" And then made them all sleep on my godmother's floor in Beverly, as we will discuss. So here we are 3 years later. This last year, we have broadcasted around the globe online. Including with like Royal Opera House Mumbai, 12 Days with Rydale Festival, which is a concept that I came up with in one of my crazier moments, but it seemed to work.
Such a good.
And yeah, and now we want to meet you, our audiences, our friends from around the world. So every Saturday, first Saturday of the month, not every Saturday, every first Saturday of the month.
Every single Saturday we will be here brunching away.
At 10:30 UK time, so whether that's BST or GMT, it changes because farming. We will be having brunch with different people and talking about stuff that we're doing, stuff that our colleagues are doing, stuff that's going on in the industry, and anything else that you all want to hear about. But today, we're going to eat lots of cinnamon buns and reminisce and maybe look forward to the future. So actually, we have some people with us who've been here since day one, and some people who joined us a lot further along the way. So while the tea is brewing, I'm going to suggest that we like go around and you can introduce yourselves and talk about what you do outside the Swan Consort as well, because you're all very busy and talented. So Elsa, do you want to start? Do you want to
Yeah, sure. Elsa, let's trade.
Hi.
We're so
Hi,
numerous.
Sandy's tuned in. So
Hi, Sandy.
thanks for joining in.
Hello, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Elsa and I'm a soprano, and I have sung with the Swan Consort since my time in York, doing a Masters with Robert Hollingworth, and 2 out of, well, 3 of us were in the same group, and there's quite a few from our cohort actually that have sung with the Swan Consort before, which is lovely. And I'm currently living in London, freelance admin, freelance whatever someone will pay me to do. So yeah, that's my life at the minute.
You might regret saying that on
Yeah.
a live stream.
Yeah,
Anything musical and admin related, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah. and I sung with the consort a few times. The first gig was in Cambridge in Sydney Sussex College, which is your which was a really beautiful concert. And then since done recordings during lockdown, which was great fun. Doing lots of magicals it was last May, wasn't it? We did lots of stuff like that. And then also doing the Christmas one that Anita mentioned, and that was so lovely. Like the kind of first big gig that we had last December, and it was just really exciting.
Yeah, I really remember that moment as being, so for context, we filmed at the start of December 20. Oh God, I've lost track of the year.
2020.
So having basically been locked down with the world since March, and then being thrown back into lockdown in November, I think the second lockdown was maybe the biggest shock for a lot of us. And we came up with this project, and just to have you all in that beautiful space in Castle Howard. I remember also the rehearsal beforehand, which we had in St Michael's Cornhill. I think we all needed a moment.
It was definitely quite a lot to suddenly be back with 8 people and like all the people that you were friends as well. So it really felt like a really lovely occasion to see everyone again, and then sing some amazing Christmas tunes.
And I think that also kept me sane, because I was living on my own in a part of the world where I don't really know anyone. So the fact that we could actually just be together and be a bubble safely and do what we do for 2 days, I think kept me going, for sure. By the way, can you do let us know if you can't hear us? We've never done this before. If it's a bit quiet, let us know and we'll do our best to fix it. And also we've got some windows open for ventilation and it's raining. So if you can't hear us, or if you need us to close the window nearest to the laptop, do please let us know. There is a teeth some
cooking and kettles and all kinds of noisy stuff.
Cooking room.
Absolutely.
Never quiet when we're in a room together.
Who's going to go next?
Lucia?
Sure.
Change places!
Change places!
Chairs.
Hi, I'm Lucian and I'm the resident Yank. I'm originally from New York City and I moved to England 3 years ago to do the same MA course as Elsa and Robin. And that's, of course, where I met Anita. And my first engagement with the Swan Consort was actually during lockdown, the Madrigals in May series, which was so fun. And that actually kept me going. Anita, you were talking about how 12 Days of Christmas sort of kept you going during that second lockdown. It did for me as well. But that being able to even virtually sing with other people and have that lovely positive thing to look forward to, because that was weekly, wasn't it? Every week in May?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm notorious for being extremely ambitious. And I was like, yeah, this virtual thing, I'm sure it's fine. Let's just do something every Monday in May. And then I think that was this extraordinarily steep learning curve. But I'm very glad we did it.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was such a sweet and positive thing. And people, when I shared it to my social media pages, people just absolutely loved it. They responded to it more than some of the other things that I've done that maybe were more, I don't know, illustrious. Places that I've sung, like Carnegie Hall or whatever. And I will share all of those types of things, and that's all very impressive and it's lovely, and people really respond. But there was something about Madrigals in May that really touched people, and I think it probably, aside from the fact that they were lovely and beautifully sung and everything else, there was this lovely warmth and generosity of spirit, and also people were really hungry for that kind of thing because of the time we were living through, and it really, really moved people, and they just absolutely loved it, and it was very, very special to take part in as well.
I learned so much actually doing that, not just about the whole virtual thing, but I realized very quickly that the reason I think it worked well, and I think all of the virtual recording is stressful, but that was less so because we all know each other and we're all close as friends as well as musicians. So when you're a conductor doing one of those tracks for a virtual choir, you're having to imagine where people will need a breath and all sorts of strange things, and imagine what the response will be, because actually good conducting sort of empathetic conducting should be a dialogue, not a monologue. And to have, to move and have nothing come back was bizarre, actually. And maybe some of you can tell me what it was like to sing on the other side. But actually, the fact that I could in my head be like, okay, Elsa's there, Adam is there, Luthien is there, made it not so daunting and not feel like screaming into the void, because I did feel with a lot of the online stuff that it did feel like just like throwing it out into the void and not knowing where it's going. So even just feeling that virtually you were all on the other side of the wall again made it really special for me.
I think I definitely felt that when we were sorry,
we should lean in so we can
weird
see
voice
you.
coming in from nowhere. But I'll put my hand here and I'll talk. I'll talk with my hand.
Probably turn the camera.
I really
move the hand with.
I really felt that when we were recording. But I think because so many of us have sung together in person before, it actually felt quite nice. It felt like we'd have, here we go. It was kind of felt like for example, I knew that Robin was singing tenor on one of the tracks, and I was like, I bet Robin is going to do this thing, which she will sound really good doing, and therefore I will change the way that I sing. But that's because we've known each other and sung with each other quite a lot before, whether it be Swan stuff, and also knowing what Anita likes as a conductor. And so you kind of change it around with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that we're not doing virtual recordings anymore, because it's not the funnest thing in the world, not the most creatively rewarding or satisfying experience. So no more lockdowns, please.
Yeah, and I think also now that the government have worked out ways in which we as professionals, even God forbid if there has to be another lockdown to save lives, that there has been, we've worked out ways that we can work safely together, which is just a relief, but it's not easy, is it? You're up.
Hello, I'm Adam. I wasn't an original member of Swan, but I saw all the exciting things that Swan was happening, and I Instagram stalked, and then I first sang with Swan in Beverley when we did a series of different concerts and services at Beverley Minster and Burton Agnes.
Burton Agnes is beautiful. Do you want to talk about Burton Agnes?
Burton Agnes Hall, yeah.
Some people might not know where that is. Have tea.
Well, it's near Beverley in beautiful countryside, and it's a large near Driffield. It's a large house, and it's full of artwork and so much history. And we sang some madrigals in person in the Great Hall amongst all these great works of art and curious tourists and visitors wondering what this group of singers is doing here. And we had a great time.
I really love Burton Agnes Hall. It was sort of like it's in East Yorkshire. I grew up in East Yorkshire. Robin is my little brother, in case you haven't guessed why we sort of look like his and hers versions of his and hers Swan Consort. But Burton Agnes, basically, the main manor house is Tudor, Elizabethan, but there's been a sort of manor house on that estate since the Norman times. So me being the early music dork I am, we did this really cool program in the Long Gallery where we actually sung pieces from all the different significant historical points of the house, which suited us because a lot of that was Jacobean, but sort of sacred and secular. Also, the house, I think, was one of the only royalist sort of strongholds in that part of Yorkshire during the Civil War. And we need to change the battery pack of the camera, but we are still here. So Burton Agnes, basically, we did this program. We started with Summer Is a Coming In, which some of you might know. We're getting a whistling of it.
Luby sing cuckoo.
Yeah, and then we went all the way through to Jacobean.
Now it's a podcast, yeah.
Now
podcast.
And it will be available as a podcast from Monday as well. I'll figure out how to put it online. I think we're going to use Podbean. But yeah, actually, can we do a little round of Summer Is Coming In? We know it, don't we?
Well, we need the.
Sing
the-
cuckoo,
da-da-da-da.
sing cuckoo. And what's the da-da bit that I did? I mean, we don't need to
Sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo.
Summer is a coming in, sing cuckoo. Summer is a coming in, sing the waterloo. Sing cuckoo, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Sing the cuckoo. Sing the birds and polka birds and woody sing cuckoo. Sing cuckoo, woody sing cuckoo.
Sing cuckoo.
That'll do.
Live. We'll do it live.
Very, very live and like very on the fly. Yeah.
Oh,
Very on the fly.
Still sounds good. I
well.
love it. Great.
So just to finish.
So anyway.
just to finish. So I've really enjoyed expanding my repertoire with Swan because I have more of a choral background. I sing in all the different cathedrals. I like to self-title myself as the Yorkshire countertenor. In 1 week, recently I sang in Ripon, York, Bradford and Sheffield Cathedral.
In 1 weekend.
In 1 week.
He does get around. He gets around.
So I quite enjoyed achieving that. But I'm just really excited to be part of Swans. I love the ambition and these huge visions that I can just be a part of. And I just want to. I'm really excited about what's going to happen in the future. And yeah, that's me.
I'm just going to introduce Jeremiah, my
Butler.
butler, my live-in butler, emotional support butler. He's making the tea and also frying some eggs for us, I think, that are going to come. I do want to just also, before we introduce more members, shout out to Weirdo Bakery, Weirdo, like dough, around the corner from us in Walthamstow, who have made these incredible, look at these cinnamon buns. These cinnamon buns, this pan brioche, and these chocolate brioche buns. This is not an ad. I'm just telling you that if you like brioche, you need to come to Walthamstow and go to Weirdo Bakery because it is the best brioche I've had outside of La France.
Oh, maybe. Other bakeries are available.
They are, but don't bother.
You should get unlimited free chocolate brioche now.
But you know what? I asked for 9 cinnamon buns because there's 9 of us, and they did give me 10 because I may have a little bit of a running pattern. I restrict myself to when I don't have guests around. I just go on Friday morning and I get my chocolate pan brioche and my flat white, and it's my weekly treat. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Little brother.
I guess it comes around to me now. Yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm Robin. I am, as
No, you're not.
has been most, however, lots of you out there will know me just by our last name, Data. Both is totally fine. You can call me that. We're all friends. So I was with Swan from the very, very start. I don't think I could have possibly got away with not being in it. But yes, I am a tenor. I'm an alto on the weekends. But yeah, I have been in right from the very start. I've done most of our touring stuff. Missed out on a couple of bits, like the 12 days. But I am a singer, a teacher and administrator. I have just spent the past 2 years, after having done our master's course, which, fun bit of trivia, only one of the 8 of us has not sung with Swan before. James Botcher, your time is coming. But after having had 2 years up at the fantastic Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool, I'm in the process of moving down to Cambridge and in and around London, where I'll be hopefully travelling about, visiting lovely churches and making noise with my face, which is very much what I love to do. As Elsa alluded to earlier, I'm the proprietor of all of the daft ornaments and ridiculous moments for the consort, which I absolutely love. Yeah, Lewis Cullen, of course, the wonderful Lewis Cullen loves himself an English cadence.
Lewis is hilarious. Lewis is the one who like always gets me like in terms of laughing as a conductor because he doesn't do it often, but when he does,
It's outrageous.
It's
outrageous, and I never see it coming. And also, he has this like innocent face. So sometimes I will hear it, and I was like, I'll look at him, and it's like, what? Who's me?
Yeah, he won't do it in the rehearsal, we'll do it in the concert.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's never him.
Exactly.
Actually, on our first, so Lewis was with us, our first get together, the beautiful St Mary's Church in Beverley, we did an even song on a Friday night, I want to say, a Friday night, and then we had a 2-day residency in Lincoln Cathedral, and on that Friday night, we didn't rehearse the hymn because we had other stuff to rehearse, and we were getting used to each other. It was a bunch of people who hadn't sung together before, and in the hymn there was him and also David Whitworth. If you're another countertenor, wonderful David, and they just went up to the top F in the hymn tune like it was nothing.
Oh,
and that was the moment where I was like, this is it. This is my life now.
This is a
I love it. It's great.
No, I think my personal favourites in terms of kind of embellishment, tasteful embellishment, was our program of the Cavalli Musica Sacra and all of those beautiful Vespers psalms, because they're written. Obviously, you say Italian Vespers, people go Monteverdi. And it's very much of that style that you can tell that it's later and it's a little bit more nuanced and some different harmonies and different things going on in there. And yeah, there's some lines in there where you can just, spot a semi-breed and pretend to be Nicholas Mulroy for 2 seconds. Which is basically what I do for a living. So no, absolutely love that.
Nicholas Mulroy impersonator.
No, just for a few seconds of the crowd.
Yeah.
Please let himself go. There's some brilliant duet moments in there where all we have to do is kind of look across and smile. There's some fantastic trios in there where we got to have a lot of fun. And yeah, that whole thing was just fantastic, and I really hope it's not the last that we see of that or hear of that.
Yeah, so actually you can find us online, Cavalli Musica Sacra. We have this beautiful, complete edition of the Vespers motets by Dr. Eric Esparza, our musicologist friend in the US. He actually edited these for his PhD, and I knew that they existed, and there are a couple of them online, but not a full collection. And being the dork I am, I logged into ProQuest and was like, someone will have done this for their master's or PhD, and they didn't. And I stalked him, I tracked him down, I was like, please can I have the scores? And our first kind of online sharing of this was this little 30-minute recital that we did for the Royal Opera House Mumbai. And yeah, you can check it out online. I think it's really compelling stuff. He sort of flips between operatic recitative style sections and this gorgeous sort of Venetian antiphony. But what I like about it as a conductor is when these guys are off, it's an easy job for me because I can just like let them do it. A lot of the time, my job is to not get in the way of their relationship with each other, rather than to.
So you're basically a therapist.
Lovely.
Oh, hello, bacon.
So we have a kind of an IKEA answer to breakfast butties, and so I've given you all the constituent parts, but I've done absolutely none of the assembly.
It's very modular.
Hello, Robert. Worth saying hello to Robert Hollingworth. What's he said? I can't read the chat.
Ave Maestro.
Buenos.
Buenos. You need to come and have these cinnamon buns next time you're in London. By the way, since this is very, very relaxed, where is my phone? I should be recording the audio for the podcast. Whoops.
There must be a way to rip it. There must be some sort of
There
application.
will, but the quality might be
Yeah.
We'll
not
figure
so
it out.
good.
We'll figure it out.
We really need Robert's sort of like, you know, puddings reactions from Stour Festival.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
exactly.
We need his sort of like, you know, pastry reactions.
Exactly.
Pudding
Rate
react.
our cinnamon buns, sir.
Yeah.
Rate my buns.
Thoughts?
Hashtag bun react.
No, really, we do owe that Spurs course quite a lot. As I say, 7 of the 8 of us have sung with Swan, and I think a part of all of the training that we did on that kind of almost prepared us for it because of the manner of the music that we do, the types of stylistic interpretations, just developing our ears and our musicianship. It's absolutely vital. So well done there. Well done there, sir. But yes, no, and I think there's.
But yes, no. Which one is it?
No, I think other people from later and previous Spurs courses have come along as well. I mean, David Valsamidis singing bass, who's just finishing up that course, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
no.
Valentine, our lovely
Valentine.
Valentine, who is in France, and we miss her very much. Always useful to have such a wonderful soprano around. Yeah. Excellent. I think we need to move the camera around and introduce Senior Matthew Bladen.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, friends. Hello, everyone. Hello. Yes, I'm Matthew Bladen, and I've been there since, I suppose, gig 1.5, and I sort of appeared as then an organist. That bunch of gigs right at the start, where you started at Beverley and then you went to Lincoln, and I appeared in Lincoln to play the organ for those couple of evening songs in Lincoln Cathedral, which was lots of fun, and didn't quite know what was going to happen, but it was wonderful. I think the first thing we'd sort of ever done, really, and I think the first time we conducted all the singers, it was kind of fresh and really exciting. I got told off for playing the organ.
I'm sorry, man. Can we have a moment for this chocolate, the inside of the chocolate
Wow.
I just had to see what was inside.
Yeah.
Quality.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Sorry, yeah, okay,
Sorry,
sorry.
well then if you just been to do, oh my god. And then I've also done some singing with the consort in that sort of village festival.
South Dalton,
That's
which has
the one,
the
yes.
tallest spire in East Yorkshire or all of Yorkshire, I can't remember, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's hidden away sort of between Beverley and near Leconfield, all that.
Right.
But yes.
Yeah. So that was a really fun Saturday. Going into York, doing some rehearsal, and then going to sing that concert.
About Lincoln Cathedral, again, somewhere I went as a child. My mum and my auntie grew up in Grimsby. My grandmother lived in Grimsby, and yeah, I remember going as a child and thinking, "Oh, it's big in here," and I sort of assumed that as an adult, it wouldn't that I would have sort of scaled myself up and it wouldn't feel so massive. But yeah, walking into Lincoln Cathedral, and it is a wide boy. It is a wide boy. Just thinking, oh, what have I got myself into? Oh God!
And at the time, I think I was playing on full organ in my rehearsal, for which I got told off by the Virgin.
Look,
But,
I think Handel said of an organ where he had a similar complaint, like, "Well, you paid for all these pipes. I'm going to use them."
It's the fact that William Byrd actually played the organ at Lincoln Cathedral that makes it feel extra special for me.
Yeah.
I just think all these
Yeah.
wonderful greats of history were in that exact same space
Yeah.
that we can occupy today.
And also, we did a service, didn't we, of Byrd? We did.
Yes. Well, it was sort of a romantic program first night, and
You know,
then
I made them sing Best O Indeed 1-2 apart.
yeah.
I don't think I would do that again to them, but they were valiant.
And I mean, I didn't really hold back on the organ cover either. They did really, really well.
Didn't need to.
And I sort of, I think I was encouraged to not hold back too much because as people were arriving, I was just finishing my rehearsal for Best O Indeed, and I was just getting to the end of one of the glorias, and I tried out bringing the 32-foot reading right at the end. It's classic sort of organ,
That's the
sort of
fart
exciting.
one,
It's a big fart. It's a really, really low thing. I just saw him on the camera, and one of the sopranos who was singing that day, going sort of like that at the organ, and I thought, okay, that'll be fine.
Absolutely.
And then the program of Byrd the next evening. Quaymad Modem.
Yeah, we had Byrd and then the Tavern of Quemad,
Yeah.
which, I'm sorry, but you'll sing it so beautifully.
Yeah.
It's that's a real Swan piece for me. I can't listen to anyone else do it now.
I mean,
With apologies to our wonderful colleagues.
I do absolutely love it. Unfortunately, my lasting memory of that is I was in a rehearsal in Hesel, trying to get the ensemble together by singing the thing through to Pip. And not just Pip, to Pip. Yeah. All of us in this really beautiful kind of thing where everyone knows the kind of lush, flowing lines, and we're going Pip, 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 Pip.
You can find that on our Instagram. Maybe we'll reshare it on our socials afterwards. This is actually a really cool trick if any of you are in choirs of any level. When you're singing polyphony, so these pieces where each of the individual parts has a melody and the melodies are sort of displaced and layered like a beautiful sort of millefeuille. I never know how to pronounce it when you're talking in English. Anyway, like a layered thing. Right, and actually, there are moments. The harmony is sort of implied by the effect of them being in this layer, and when you're being expressive, it can be quite easy to just be slightly off. But it always sounds better if it's in a line. So I made them sing the note values and just go pip at the start of each of the new notes, so that they could line them up. And whenever you do this with the choir, the first time it's like someone's thrown a handful of gravel at a wall, but afterwards. You sort of come together and it makes people listen. I wonder if we can do a demonstration just so that people know what we're talking about. We all know the start of If You Love Me, don't we? Yeah. Let's do it to Pip. Who's our pitch? Okay. Pip. 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 Pip, 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 It requires a lot of You get the idea.
Ledger lines before midday. That ain't right, man.
I have been known to make choirs do this with sort of, the horrible runs in Zadok the Priest and what have you. But it's effective. Yeah, should we recenter the camera? Marvellous. Well, I suppose, are there any questions? What do you want us to talk about? Because if not, we'll just bang on a little bit about what we've done. I wanted to maybe ask what your favourite Swan moment was, each of you, musical or otherwise. But yeah, in the chat, if you're watching, do ask us questions. What do you want to know over brunch? You're part of this conversation too. This might also be a moment to say that if you want to participate in brunch, you can text 5WAS, so that's Swan, but a 5 instead of the S, to donate £5, which is a very expensive cup of coffee or a very cheap egg Benedict. The number to text that to is below, and all the details are in the description of the video below. So you can join in with this brunch by splitting the bill with us, and all of that will go to supporting our ongoing work. We're very lucky to have some fantastic donors, and there are some charities that you can apply to for grants for projects. But one of the challenges that I've discovered, that I've learned since setting this up, is that actually there's an ongoing administrative cost, which is mostly absorbed by me as a poor PhD student. But by yourself, have a cup of tea at home and text Swan or Swan Brunch, you'll see the details below, to split the bill with us.
Sandy says, how's the coffee?
The coffee is lovely because my emotional support butler is very good. He has a beautiful French press technique.
Which I learned in France.
Show off. Mic drop.
It's a really good egg.
Good egg.
No, ironically, French are rubbish at making coffee.
All sweeping statements made are the views of the individual who makes
the
them.
whole country.
Other views on French coffee are right.
Yes.
But are wrong.
Roast the beans too hot. Put too hot water on them. Add UHT milk.
Oh dear.
Robert, if you're still watching, it's him, okay?
Anita, what Do you want to kick us off? Yeah, with your
Favourite
favourite.
Swan moment. So my favourite Swan moment is a musical moment, but it's not an official musical moment. When we did that set of gigs that you joined us for, I just moved into a house in Beverley. So shortly after we were established, I went off to India for 6 months to do my PhD research. So I didn't see the Swans for 6 months out of the first year of us being together. And when we came back, our first birthday month, we did Evensong and a morning service in Beverley Minster, where I was then assistant director of music, and then we did these gigs in Burton Agnes that were sort of anchored in the local history of the house. And the night in between, I had everyone over in my 2 up, 2 down little terraced house in Beverley, which I just painted. I decided we were going to have a barbecue, but it was super windy. It was proper Yorkshire weather. And when I came back, the gents had found a tarpaulin in the garden and made themselves a little barbecue cut. And we all sort of fed each other and had a potluck. And then we sat in a circle on my floor. I didn't even have any furniture. And we sang all sorts of stuff, folk songs, rounds, and everyone just sort of took a turn improvising and leading. And that was the moment where that house felt like a home for me. And especially coming back from India, where I have most of my family and lots of really close friends, my wonderful friends in the Big Other jazz band, who we spend a lot of time at my flat in India just jamming. To actually come back and be like, yes, I'm back with my people, and this is home. That's my favourite Swan moment.
Lovely.
Mine was also that same weekend when singing Vigilante at the back of Beverley Minster. It was just so special, and it was actually, that piece was new to me. I know a William Byrd piece that was new to me. It was such a discovery, and to sing with such amazing people and hearing that, hearing those basses come through and all the intricate.
Stuart O'Hara,
yeah, that was it.
living legend, and Clark.
Clark Bryden, I think.
Yeah, who I believe is in Ireland now. So we don't get to have a bit of Clark. We love you. Yeah, they've got this really rich sound, and they come in on this bit, which means sort of when the cock crows, I've gone to yeah, amazing.
Sandy writes, I've mentioned to 1 or 2 of you before, but the very ending of the Lamentations concert was so serene, it lifted my soul out of my body.
Thank you, Sandy.
That's so lovely. That's the wonderful, wonderful Dawn Walters who wrote that piece.
Yes, which is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, being published next year. I won't say any more, but that piece, O Dolorosa, is being published next year, and I will leave Dawn to add in the comments below this video, as and when she's allowed to give details of that. But who here was in Lamentations? 1, 2, 3, that's Elsa's lovely hand again.
Elsa, I feel we should switch again.
Oh no, it's okay.
Should we each get equal camera
talk
time?
about
I don't want to look at
Lamentations.
myself.
So that was.
I know, that's trouble is not his.
That was
It's
March
not staring at yourself.
2020?
March 2020.
Yeah.
So Lamentations is sort of a reflection. I wanted
March
to.
2021.
2021, of course.
This year.
I sort of wanted to
March
reflect on. I realise that there's a strong relationship in music between grief and hope, and I don't think that's an accident. And at that time, lockdown number 3, weren't we? We just wanted to put something out to. Again, I think we needed it, and I tend to operate on the principle that if I feel that we need it, our friends probably need it too. But yeah, I wanted to.
No, it was. So that was wonderful. We recorded that in a church in Liverpool over what was then my end of the world.
Unitarian Church.
Yes, the Unitarian Church, Unitarian Chapel. That was us 3. The wonderful friend of the Swan Consort, Sam Gilliatt, and the unstoppable Stuart O'Hara yet again. That was a heck of a sound in there.
It was beautiful.
So that was. We did the Josquin Lamentations.
No, Josquin Miserere.
Josquin Miserere, yes, thank you. Rob White's Lamentations. There we go.
They were
So
good.
Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely fantastic. written with the middle three parts kind of overlapping in ranges. There was a lot of kind of flipping and swapping of parts, and I think I just about got through every part in the choir in that particular
I
one.
think you went from like an A above middle C down to, what was your lowest note in that piece?
A above middle C to
2 octaves below, wasn't it?
yeah, it was two octaves below, and a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a heck of a thing.
Just so versatile.
It's what I do. Fluidity, agility, Robin Dassey. But no, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And you know, to compliment those absolutely gorgeous things, we got two fantastic pieces from, which I'll let you talk about.
So it starts with a piece called Lacrimosa by the wonderfully talented Tiara O'Rourke. Shout out to Tiara. She is now 18. She wrote this piece when she was 17. She lives in Bangalore, India, and she is a composer to watch. She wrote this beautiful, there's an 8-part version as well, but we sang the 5-part version of this piece. It's Lacrimosa, the setting that she wrote as her response to the pandemic, which is, I'm sure you're all aware, has been very severe in India indeed. And it won a prize in the ABRSM Commonwealth Composition Competition. And with some of her friends in the Harmony Chorus in Bangalore, they did a virtual choir thing. I saw it and I was like, wow, we have to perform that. So we opened, which we finished the program, was like, hello darling, I've written this piece for you, which is amazing. And I looked at it and it was smack in the theme that we were working on. And I hadn't actually told her that we were developing a program on that. So I was like, right, this is serendipity. And we will finish with that. So that's how that came together. But I also love the fact that completely by accident, well, not by accident, but it just happened that on that billing you have 2 female composers and 2 male composers. And for sure the pieces by the male composers are longer, so they spend more time talking, if you like. And also Tiara being based in India and being Indian herself, it was a really nice to see that actually if you are exposing yourself widely to what there is out there in the world, you don't have to pull a muscle to have a program that represents all the voices that there are, or at least more than the voices that we get to hear. Like if you're putting yourself out there, if you're listening, if you're watching what's going on social media, you will become a more diverse, pluralistic artist yourself, for sure. I'm really proud of that. Yeah.
I've just noticed this absolute sack of pork products.
Yeah, there's a sack of East London pork.
I think I should just show what we've got.
Yeah, this is.
Wow, you're not on camera, darling.
No, but
Not
I'm going to
yet.
offer.
I mean, look at all that
Many
bacon.
bacons.
Many bacons.
I mean, each of these slices is about a centimetre thick.
Wow.
Just so people understand why running a choir can be so costly. Waldenstone banger.
Absolutely.
Neither can the sausage drown it.
Neither
Neither can the sausage drown. So that's kind of lovely.
It's an
Great to
absolute
have.
sack
Great to
of
have a
pork.
brisk cabinet of nuts.
Whole bag of pork.
It's a
I'm gonna-
whole entire bag of pork.
I'm going to take that as Sandy's favourite Swan moment for now. And carry on round the table. Who wants to volunteer their favourite Swan moment, musical or otherwise?
And my favourite one was again in the Cavalli, one of the trios, the Jesu Corona, the original, which starts off, it's ATV, starts off all together, and then we each kind of get our own little crack at a verse, and just I think in the recording it started off, first time we did it was me, you and Sam, wasn't it?
I was just
On the Undercroft in Liverpool.
We had a concert the November preceding in which you were supposed to sing that trio, and then you were ill, unfortunately. We performed that in St Mary's Woodford. And then, in this
And
incarnation...
then, when we went to record it in the church in Rotherhithe, it came to it, and it was Bluethy and myself and Stuart O'Hara, with, the instruments, and we just got to let rip at it. And
you really needed encouragement with that, didn't you?
oh yeah, of course. No, it was really, really hard for me. But yeah, we got our own little goes at it, and just hearing, our own interpretations, how we flavoured that, and just I got to stand in the middle of it all, of course. So I got kind of the full brunt of everything, and it was just gorgeous. Exactly the right stuff, just all of that in my ears, up my nose, in my mouth, just every way that I can get that into my person. I will take that every day of the week. That was my absolute favourite.
I think that opens the programme. This is on our YouTube channel, not our YouTube channel. If you type Cavalli Musica Sacra or Cavalli the Swan Consort into YouTube, you will find this, and it's on the Royal Opera House Mumbai's YouTube channel. Again, we can maybe put a link to it in the description if you're watching this at a later date. I love what you say there about it, like being there, and this is why so many of us have just felt bereft. I think recently it's like music is so physical, particularly the kind of music we do. When I am in the middle of I feel the sound. I'm also an organist, but I find it really difficult to listen to recordings of the organ because it's physical. There's something about the vibration in the building. So if you feel comfortable, go out and listen to a live concert, whether that is your local choral society, whether it's somebody with a guitar on a stick. Go enjoy the live music. And if you've never been to a live music concert before, go do it, because the time is now. You need to experience it and feel it in your body. Yeah, it's and that's the best thing about conducting, because you get to be in the cross section. My two favorite things about conducting: I get to sing whichever is the best part at any given moment, and I get to be physically in the middle of it. But
I think that's something interesting about what we've been having to do as singers recently. When we've been doing all these recordings, whether it's been online recordings or even just like we did with Liverpool and the Christmas ones where we were just recording them, but there's no audience there, so I think I found that a little bit difficult, and I've been very lucky to do a couple of live gigs recently with an audience, and it's just amazing to actually direct it to people and sing it to people, and that's really tricky when you're doing it kind of recorded, because you don't really speak about whether you're performing to a camera or that kind of thing, and obviously that kind of depends on the people that you have filming it as well, and post-production and all that kind of thing. But obviously it's going to be, I think filming concerts and live streaming concerts is definitely something that's going to be a part of the classical music industry in the future, so it'll be interesting to see where that kind of settles, whether people just kind of film it as one shot, or if it gets really up close with people, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny as well, because actually I noticed as the conductor and trying to emotionally support you all, I am aware that it's much more anxiety inducing when there's not an audience there, because for example, if there was a tiny little mistake which is even barely audible to me, we turn I'd say we go cut, and people go, oh no, I did this thing, I did, and I remember even in the middle of one of the cavalli pieces, I played completely the wrong notes in the continuo part. It's well, I didn't notice, and it's but I don't want that to go out there and then be out there forever. Right. But in a concert situation, there is no such thing as the perfect concert, and if it is, it's probably musically boring. But the point is that the audience are there, and you get that energy from you, you get that appreciation, even just being able to sort of look out and catch that someone is smiling out the corner of their eye, of your eyes, you're performing. It's a bit like when you perform as a musician, you're really drawing on your emotions. So sort of on an emotional level, it's like getting up there in your underpants and going, hey, here I am.
And that's why the idea of recording a concert, I don't think, is an automatic given as a good thing, because sometimes it's just nice to know that was a unique period of time. Mm-hmm. Just the people who were listening and you were performing to were there with you and shared that experience. And sometimes I think a recording or having that camera, just knowing it there, I think it takes the intimacy away a little. Just like you're bearing yourself, and you know who you're bearing yourself to that audience. But with a recording, I think there's a bit of more
That's
ambiguity.
something that isn't spoken about in Dark classical music, and that is the active role of the listener. They're not just passive, they're not just like cushions on the seats. The fact that you have people there, they do play an active role in the listening, and there is that interplay, which also
There
links
should be at
into
least.
the fact that the performance is actually two-directional rather than one-directional, which is the thing I think that lockdown and the prevalence, the democratization of recording, in fact, everyone can make recordings, and people are actually realizing, hey, I can't just put recordings online and be like, listen to me. There has to be a reason, there has to be a connection with an audience for that to actually gain traction.
And by classical there, I'm going to qualify and say Western classical. So obviously myself and Robin have dual heritage, English and Indian heritage, and we had Indian classical training as well. And in Indian classical music, that dialogue with the listener, particularly the expert listener, is really built in. And we talk about music in Indian classical in terms of like flavor, rasa, and the aroma of the music. And the idea that someone who is a connoisseur, a rasika, someone who knows how to taste and savor that music, which could be anyone, you know, at any kind of level of appreciation. And you will hear, if you listen to any kind of live Indian classical recordings, that when a particularly beautiful flourish or when a particularly emotionally sensitive thing has happened, the audience will respond and they will show their appreciation, even if that's just thinking, oh, wow, 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 you know, or whether it's kind of something else. And that is an integral part of becoming a performer, actually, in Indian classical music, is your ability to have an emotional dialogue through the art that you create, rather than it just being like, I'm going to stand up and give, I mean, even the term a recital, I'm going to give a recital, recite at you, which is why I wanted to have brunch with all of you as well, because the better we know you, the better we can do at having those conversations with you through music, you know? That got deep quick.
Actually, while we touch briefly on our dual heritage, I think that might be a good way to actually explain our name and where our name comes from, because lots of people assume ribbons.
Yeah, a lot of people think that Swan Consort is Silver Swan. And I like the fact that there's that association, but actually, the swan is the companion animal of the goddess Saraswati, who is the Hindu goddess of music and learning. So for me, the Swan Consort is actually an homage to the goddess Saraswati, which is kind of a representation of the fact that, again, in Indian culture, South Asian cultures, music is considered like a literal expression of the divine. You know, that it's something really, that music is, even if that's a silly, even potentially quite a rude magical, that it's something sacred, it's something really, it's superhuman, it's transcendental.
If you put a musical instrument on the floor, you can't step over it.
Yes, yeah, we treat our instruments as also a sort of manifestation of, you know, they're like a portal for transcendence and divinity to enter the world. And, you know, whether or not you believe in a sort of personified, you know, spirit in the sky, and I'm not sure I necessarily do, but I think we all feel that, like as human beings, we feel that something above us. So that's where the Swan Consort comes from.
Controversial opinion.
Ooh.
And is this why you got out of camera shot?
Yeah.
I will lean. I'll tell you what. I will lean back in. Gibbons is very, very lovely. As is that piece.
Oh snap!
There is an Arcadelt piece, Il Bianco e Dolce Cino, which is miles better.
This might be an opportunity to. We've maybe got like 20 minutes left, so actually this is a really good opportunity to talk about going forwards and things that I have in store for you, my dears. So do you want to tuck in? I think we can get Ailsa and if we all like snuggle in a little bit more, everyone can see. I have been doing some research. And I've found a whole bunch of magicals and more contemporary choral pieces that are inspired by the sounds that birds make. So, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it was there in summer as coming in, but also in our main magical series, we did the Vorta with the it's like a little bop, yeah. Like beyond the normal kind of the usual sort of thing of like skylarks and nightingales, there are hens in there. There are sort of hawks, peewits, all of this stuff. And I'm trying to get in touch with people in the RSPB or other bird charities, and what we want to do is go around the country and give these concerts, but also go and do workshops with young people of all different ages and get them to listen to the birds around them in their natural environment, encourage them to go outside and explore post-COVID and just actually say, what are the birds that are around me? What sounds are they making? And maybe do some vocal improvisation with them, see if they can come up with their own songs that are inspired by the birds around them, and then like give them a free ticket to the concert or something. So if you know the person I need to speak to at the RSPB, please let me know. And if you think that that's the kind of thing that you would like in your part of the world, in your part of the UK, drop us a message, let us know. We're going to hopefully trial that next year in 2022 in spring, summer. And if it's successful, we'll take it further afield in 2023. And the Arcadel, the Bianco and Dolcetino, will definitely be on there for sure, because it is an absolute banger.
Brilliant.
The bird songs actually got, since the pandemic, birds have been singing at a lower volume because they don't need to like shout over all the noise.
Oh, lovely.
Ooh, good
So-
fact.
It's a good
But we
fact.
obviously need to be singing louder now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I love the idea that like birds have to like, oi, Mark! Mark, there's a worm! Mark!
What was that, Jerry? I can't hear over all this traffic. Meanwhile, we're going, oh, lovely, the birds.
What a charming song. Oh, isn't he loud?
Wish all these people would go away.
Oh dear. Well, you know, we have been talking at people for a little while. Bird facts with the Swan Consort. Bird
Hashtag bird facts.
Hashtag bird facts. I mean, is there anything else that you would like us to talk about?
Well, has everyone gotten a chance to talk about their favorite
Favorite
swan
swan?
moment? Because I'm not sure we went
we
through
didn't get all the way
everyone.
through.
And I would definitely like to share mine.
Go. Well.
On the lady.
Oopsie.
Lady.
Once
It's not that one, it's not that one,
She's
it's not that
sat-
Yes, it is.
It looks like you've got a halo, that lamp behind you. Like if I were to turn it on.
Oh, it's not the lamp. So I wanted to say that some of my favorite moments in professional singing have been when, and I want to word this carefully because I don't want to imply that I, am a cynical singer or a person who only does this for money or anything like that. But sometimes when singing is your job, it's been my job for a long time, you do kind of get into sort of pro mode when you're singing concerts, and you're not necessarily always connecting completely with the meaning of what you're singing. And but sometimes you'll be singing a piece of music and it will just so perfectly embody that moment in time and so perfectly encapsulate emotions that are so complex and so overpowering, and I just end up weeping. And an example of one of those experiences that wasn't with Swan was the first time I ever sang the Victoria O Magnum Mysterium in a 12th century monastery in France. And it was the first time that I'd ever sung a piece of music that was written for the space that we were singing it in. And it completely changed the experience of singing that piece for me. And I just wept. I was so overwhelmed. And there was another time that I was singing the Promise of Living, that Aaron Copland piece, with Westminster Bar. I did my undergraduate degree at Westminster Bar College in Princeton, New Jersey, those of you who are familiar. And we were singing the Promise of Living, and we were singing at another monastery, a more contemporary monastery in just outside of Charleston, South Carolina. And this particular monastery had an order of monks who were very connected to the land. They were farmers, and one of the ways they supported themselves is by raising chickens and selling. But they didn't slaughter the chickens; they sold the chickens' dung as manure, which was very, very successful for them. So anyway, they really had their hands in the earth every day, and the Promise of Living, that singing in that space, that piece, and being aware of how much the people who lived there lived the words of that song. That was overwhelming. So anyway, I get to the point, which is my favorite Swan moment that I've experienced so far, which was singing that wonderful arrangement of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas for 12 Days of Christmas, which if you watch us doing it, I have this huge smile on my face for the entire thing. And that was not acting. That was really genuine, because I was suddenly just completely overcome, because, how many of us have sung that piece a million times and we always love it. It's always really, the holiday feeling and all that, and it's lovely. But, one day soon we all will be together if the fates allow. I'm getting teared up just thinking about it.
Muddle through somehow.
Yeah. And I mean, it has never been so meaningful. And to actually be standing there with these lovely people, singing those words, that was
yeah.
I can't really even put it in. I know I can't even really put it into words what that meant.
That arrangement, by the way, is by the marvelous Jonathan Rathbone.
Oh,
it's
yes.
so simple. It's so beautiful. Any of your choirs could do it. It's within their reach. But that was such a moment. Yeah, 12 Days stuff is not publicly available at the moment, but we are working on. If you're interested in hearing some of the things that are not still publicly available, we could be persuaded to develop like a Patreon style, maybe like a friend subscription, where you could access like our back catalogue perhaps. So if that's something that enough people are interested in, then that could maybe happen. So let us know in the comments. But I don't feel like a little bit like I'm throwing capitalism at a beautiful moment, so I'm going to stop. It's not capitalism. It's like, we've done this stuff. And actually, there's an element of like it doesn't entirely sit well with me, that then it goes in an archive, because we make it to share with you, right? So we want to do that where we can offer. Yeah, why would we do that? Have we all had it?
Favorite moment, Alison?
I think my favourite, definitely that the Christmas concert was a huge highlight for me. But I think one of my favourite ones was the first gig I did, which was in Cambridge, and we did this arrangement. I think she's just run off, but Anita did an arrangement of a lullaby.
Yes. Yeah. So it's I'll do it from. I tell you what, I will give you a little view of my lovely face. So the piece in question. There you go. That's the roof. The piece in question. It's an arrangement of. It's an arrangement of a Bengali lullaby called Phule Phule. The lyrics are written by Rabindranath Tagore, and it goes to the same tune, and I'm not sure which one happened first, but it goes to the same tune of Ye Banks and Braes, which is an old Scottish folk tune by Robbie Burns. And so Anita kind of very skillfully and carefully smushed the two together. But the result was, very calm, very, very lush. And I mean, for me, it's something that I used to have sung to me so I could go to sleep. But from another perspective, how was that for you guys?
I think I was doing like the solo in it or something like that, and it was just such a beautiful melody.
Yes, you opened it, didn't you?
Really loved singing that. And
we're talking about Phule Phule.
Phule Phule. Oh, amazing! I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay, gone again.
I think that was probably one of my favourites. And then also the Christmas one, just singing with friends again, and we did some really great rap. What was that? I can't remember. We did a polyphony piece in that concert as well, which is just epic.
Oh, was that
Palestrina?
Palestrina Holiday Christmas?
Yeah.
And Anita also wrote another lovely arrangement of I Wonder As I Wonder for that program as well, which is also beautiful.
Which I also did the solo.
Which
you also
did the solo.
Something about folk melody.
Yeah, and he likes throwing solos at Elsa. Yeah. My favourite from that one was definitely the Oladiela piece that you did so well. I missed that one. We had Dom Wallace and Ben Munden filled in on tenor line fantastically. Wish I could have done it, but that piece was absolutely delightful. Really, really well done. And in that space as well, everything just kind of up through to the roof and out past the Hyundai. It was brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it was we were recording in Where was it in Castle Howard?
Oh, we're in the Great Hall. We really lucked out there. Fule Fule, I just want to say, I arranged that, which is, so Fule Fule, the Robinta Shongi, every Bengali child on the planet has been lulled to sleep with that.
Including us.
Including us. It's the melody of you banks and braids, I'm sure you said that. But when I heard everyone sing it together for the first time, we actually rehearsed that due to logistical reasons in like Deccan Can. And then on the day I heard you all sing it together, that was for me, I actually just like had a wee cry, because I realised that I've never, I'm here as a conductor, I do so much of my life is choral music. I'd never heard a piece of choral music in my other mother tongue, ever. Which is something that it hadn't even occurred to me that I hadn't heard a choral piece in my mother tongue. So that was really powerful, and it's really made me want to write more in for Bangla, and we got the pronunciation was lovely, like a little bit of communication, and it worked really well. But yeah, we're actually really delighted to be on the Brighton Early Music Festival live Young Artist Programme.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brighton, for the next year. And the theme, we're going to do some stuff on madrigals. And I realised that madrigal comes from matricale, which means mother tongue. So the point is that madrigals are in Italian, not Latin. So again, we'll have to see if we can come up with some, maybe write or commission some new madrigals in Bengali, just for our benefit, really, just for us.
So we can have some magical art.
And if anyone else has other secret mother tongues that they want to sing in,
I wish I did, but
absolutely.
American.
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas magic.
Texas magical. I've just brought through some boxes of music because it would be nice to sing a little song before we leave. Not that we've rehearsed, but jam sesh. Because I don't anticipate necessarily that on future editions of Early Brunch we'll have all of the voice parts here. So I tell you what, I will read it. Whoever is still here, the loyal people who are still here.
All three of you get to request.
All three of you get to request. So we've got If You Love Me. We've got I Heard a Voice by Tompkins. We've got Whilst Youthful Sports, the Madrigal, Weep O Mine Eyes, Come Again, Dowland.
Come again.
Come again, come again, come again, love.
What?
What? You what? You what? Sweet Honeysucking Bees, I think we could probably do. We've got that.
it doesn't look like anyone's requesting anything, so oh well, we'll just leave it there.
Oh well. Was that a hit?
Fine. And the internet's full now, isn't it?
Lovely Saints, Park All You Lovely Saints, Silver Swan.
Oh, here we go.
Ooh.
Come again, entirely northern.
Do you think we could do Come Again to the tune of Ilkla Morba? That would be really non.
Absolutely not. Scan.
How do you want me to
See, I was going to suggest Weep, and
It's not-
Sandy also suggests Weep, so
Right.
that's two
I think we
votes
must
per week.
It's 2 votes
Just
per week.
before we do,
Especially because
though,
we almost have wept today as well.
We almost have wept. I nearly wept.
the idea that Come Again can't be sung to Ilkla Morba because it doesn't scan. Well, that doesn't stop most hymn writers, does it?
Kieran Cooper has also suggested Weep All Mine Eyes.
Weep is the runaway winner.
Well, as you said, please, Kieran. I think we might.
Please.
The
Okay, let
internet
me
mob
find which
just
one
wants
it's
to see
in.
crying.
Let me find which one it's in. I think it's in here. Can you have a look? It better be in there, otherwise my filing system is wrong.
I think I probably know it. So for short copies.
Just
Yeah.
Got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
This is whilst.
Has everyone got a copy?
It starts again at 1.
Yeah, it's in the middle.
Someone have
Right.
it.
Has everybody got one?
Bother to let her know.
Robin has an E natural forever.
I do. I have an E natural forever, courtesy of Adrian Williams' hymn to all,
Exactly.
which is for the very opening that tries to.
And that E is just drilled into my head. So much so that I can't actually hit the E flat that happens later on in that piece. It just turns into another E.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Not quite sight reading, but definitely not rehearsed. So this is just for you. Well, listeners. Is that right?
Not bad.
Nice! Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Should we
That's a
end
good
on
note to
something a little bit upbeat? Should we do Hark All Ye Lovely Saints?
All right.
Which I don't think is in there. Which we started our May Madrigal series with. And let's put this in my
I'll
which
take that.
is it in here? It must be. Actually, all the May Madrigal stuff is online.
Yes,
so
it is.
we'll put all of the links to the May Madrigal playlist. What else have we mentioned today? The Cavalli. We'll put those in the description beneath, so that if you're listening back, you have easy points of reference. Do we have enough copies? Don't have copies yet. Oh, maybe here in Egypt. I remember this is the first one that we did as a online thing, and when I got this thing back, the individual tracks they put together, the fifth in that chord is absolutely amazing, if I say so. If we say so ourselves.
To the point where we had to sit and listen for a good 15 minutes to check that there was actually sound on Rachel's soprano part, because it was that whole tune that just fitted in so well. We couldn't actually hear her first note.
There was such strong harmonics from the lower voices being so in tune. Anyway, right.
you have a preference?
I'm less likely to screw up the top line.
Classic soprano.
That's a G, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to one.
How holy love is saints above, Diana hath agreed with love, this fiery weapon to remove.
Right.
There are repeats.
The repeats in this copy are dodge, so you have to go through, don't you, and then go back.
It's a straight through and then back.
But it says
Yeah, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Should we just
Do you
start
want to
again?
Yeah, let's go again.
Good.
I thought it was repeat those first 2 pages and then
And then through.
repeat
So
as
So
written.
we need to keep the next 2 pages.
I think you can do it either way.
Let's do that. Let's do the first page twice.
Yeah.
Fine.
Easier.
Yeah.
Second time for hardcore, you know?
Yeah.
Is it?
Holy lovely saints above, Diana hath agreed with love, this fiery weapon to remove. See, your mistress bids you cease, and welcome love with love's increase, Diana from your peace. Do not see how they agree and cease. Cupid hath sworn his bow for none to break. Praise more.
Good ender.
Well done, too. Right, I think we're going to love you and leave. We need some sausage
Don't have
sandwiches.
patience, get some.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Bye, lovely
Thank you
people.
so much, everyone.
Next month, what's the first Saturday of next month?
The 5th.
5th of September, 10:30 a.m. Tell your friends, put the kettle on. We'll see you for another early brunch. Bye.
Oh.
And stream.
Woo.